Hear me, brothers and sisters. When you check in for your final inspection, the Lord will not ask you the size of anything. He just wants to know, were you faithful with what I entrusted you with? Paul says that I know God is not going to be impressed with my academic credentials, my personal accomplishments, or my ecclesiastical prominence. What pleases God is people. When lives are changed by the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He says, present everyone. Apparently, Paul hadn't read the church growth books. It said, if you're going to be successful, you need to have a target audience, homogeneous groups, people of like interests. He said, I'm after everybody. Black, white, young, old, rich or poor. I'm after everyone. When I make my presentation, I want to present to God as many souls as I can. But he says, on that day, I don't want to present God a big nursery of spiritual babes. I want to present everyone mature, perfect, complete, grown up. Are y'all in here with me tonight? The day was October 8th, 1999. I got up that morning and finished packing my bag for an overnight trip to Atlanta, Georgia. I was to preach in Atlanta that night. I packed slowly because I was hesitant about this trip. My wife was pregnant with our first child. She was almost 2 months away from the due date, but she hadn't been feeling well, and I was just going to make the trip. I wasn't scheduled to be gone for 24 hours. She assured me her mother was going to be there with her for the night, and before I left home, we prayed, and she told me to touch her belly and tell my son, don't go nowhere till daddy gets home. I did that, and I was still nervous. I called her when I got to the airport. I called her before the flight took off. I called her as soon as we landed in Atlanta. I called her when I got to the hotel room. I called her when I got to church. I called her before I went into the service just to make sure that everything was all right. When I sat down from preaching, I was not in my seat 60 seconds until I received a message that my wife had been rushed to the hospital. I was sitting there thousands of miles from home, concerned, and a little while later I got an update that my wife had been rushed into surgery, and our son, H.B. Charles III, I named him after my father. I found out that he was born that night, almost 2 months premature. I caught the first flight from Atlanta back home to Los Angeles, and I rushed, as you could imagine, to the hospital to check on my wife and to see my new son. Checked on my wife and then went to see my son, and I never will forget that day. He was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. By the time I had gotten home, he was small, but by the time I had gotten home, he had lost weight. There was tubes and wires and all of that everywhere, but he was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen just because he was mine. Just because I was just happy just because he was mine. But over a period of time, what a tragedy it would have been if I would have seen no progress no growth, no development. Are y'all in here with me? I loved him that day because he was mine, but my love was growing when I watched him develop. I remember a few months after he was born, I said, baby, he's beautiful, but he better get some color on him quick or we're going to have to talk. And he just now had his 13th birthday. And I love him not just because he's mine, but he looks like me. He talks like me. Y'all ain't listening to me here. I gotta kick him out of my room because he's trying to steal my clothes and dress like me. He talks like me. He asks me questions about what it'll be like to be called to preach like his daddy. Are y'all in here with me? And I'm just trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, that the day you come to Jesus, you ain't pretty, but he loves you just because you belong to him. Are y'all in here with me? But he ain't satisfied with a church full of babies. He wants you to start looking like Jesus. He wants you to start walking like Jesus. He wants you to learn to talk. Are y'all in here with me?